Every time I see a news alert about Extinction Rebellion, about twice a day, I think of Thierry. I don't know how many of those protesters have heard of his work, but to me, Thierry really seems like the pater familias of a lot of protest art we see today. Just a few days ago, my mother in the United States received her copy of the monograph, and when I asked her what she thought, I heard stunned silence. Everything we think we're seeing for the first time today, she said, he's been doing since the 80s. It doesn't always pay off to have an idea first. At least in art history, the person who executed the best version of that idea is usually remembered. This makes art history a privileged field of study. There's a certain degree of idealism inherent to it. Thierry claims a lot of firsts in his oeuvre. The first Facebook is a good example. I remember while we were writing about his Extractor exhibition in Hanover in the early 2000s, I say we because that's how involved Thierry was in the writing process. He was very insistent that I include that. Thierry had created a literal wall in the exhibition where people could put pictures of themselves and add updates on their thoughts and feelings. As with everything in Thierry's oeuvre, it was a way of connecting people and bringing them together to effect change for the better. Thierry's Facebook lost out to the Facebook we know today, but it's obvious in hindsight which one was the better version of that idea. So Thierry has a lot of firsts and a lot of bests. They're just not as well known as they should be, yet. I'm excited about this book because it will introduce a larger audience to Thierry's work at a time that it's desperately needed. We are living in a time of institutional collapse and increasing hopelessness. We do not know how to use the systems we have built to effect the change we need. Leadership is something we are having to learn to live without, but we don't have alternatives. Thierry has been thinking about these issues since childhood. He lost his mother when he was young and saw his own system collapse and replaced by an unfamiliar one. His father remarried. As a teenager, he went out into the world hitchhiking and pitching tents, squeezing himself into other people's systems, as it were. Over time, his cardboard signs and tents turned into canvases, and the reasons for their creation grew beyond how do I get from point A to point B to how can we as humans get from here to there? How can we survive? Thierry isn't an optimist. He is something of a pragmatic idealist. And that's what makes his oeuvre so delightful for activists and historians alike. I think at this point in time, we've all become forced to be a bit of both, trying to look forward and act for the future, but always looking back over our shoulder, worried whether we aren't making a mistake twice. His art caters to both needs. My favorite part of writing about Thierry's work was excavating the wealth of ideas and influences embedded in even the tiniest shred of cardboard artwork. There are 600 pages in this book and over 500 photographs documenting these works, which sometimes look to me like help signals from a shipwrecked civilization. Thierry adds a sense of urgency to the art and ideas he cites. The result is original and unbelievably prolific. One day, rather late into this project, I was surprised to receive an email from Thierry asking, "Is it art?" That he asked the question at all is a testament to the rigor of self-questioning and depth of thought Thierry incorporates into his work every step of the way. Nothing is taken for granted, even if a museum is publishing a monograph on his work. I never answered his question because the answer was obvious. Of course it's art, and so much more.